Avian timekeepers, the dove watch of Shemesh, July 10th, -2725. At this point, I can't wait to continue exploring deeper into these narratives, like the excitement that those young boys experienced when they discovered the scrolls in caves near the Dead Sea. Each adventure into the darkness reveals more lost treasures. Let's continue deeper into this narrative. Genesis 8 reads, "And he sent out a dove from him." In Hebrew, the dove is et hayonah, to see if the water was abated from the face of the land. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot. So she returned to him into the ark, for the water was on the surface of all the earth. Then he put out his hand and took her, and brought her into the ark to himself. It is odd that this particular dove is not associated with days or months. It is just prefixed with "and he sent out." This seems to indicate that the first dove was sent out at the same time as the raven. In the last chapter, we explored how the Orev, raven, relates to the moon within the constellation letter Ayin. After a long, hard study of the locations and motions in Stellarium, it seems that this first dove relates to the sun, which resides in the constellation letter Uav. Indeed, this becomes most fitting. A dark raven marked by the moon and a light dove marked by the sun. In a moment, we will look at this bright whitish Wav nebula, which has some resemblance to a dove-like shape. The sun's apparent evening after evening sunset circuit will have it progress from the Wav region into the Zayin region. On this date, the sun is very close to the bright star Regulus. The bright stars along the ecliptic are useful for tracking the passage of time. Here in Canada, we have vast forests, which are easy to get lost in. At times, it can become difficult to see afar off, to pick out landmarks due to the dense forest canopy. To help solve this problem, we create well-marked trails. Trail markers are set up to always be visible, even when your path is buried in winter snows or spring brush. So also, bright stars like Regulus and Spica are useful markers along the ecliptic path. as aforementioned, long summer days coupled to short summer nights make it more difficult to track time using the Milky Way, planets, and stars. Yet the narrative seems to contain clues of a different method to track the season. Now, let's consider the symbol and sound of the letter Wav in relation to this dove. Modern alphabet pronunciation of this letter is Vav, yet it seems the more ancient pronunciation is that of Uau.
Wow. Wow.
Can it be that this Alef Tav star map calendar system also aids us with the sound of each letter? Wow is traditionally U or O sound. If this letter region relates to a dove, then it seems most logical to listen to the sound of doves. The wow means hook. The hook may also relate to the location in the mouth where the oo sound is formed. Personally, I found the dove shape more difficult to pick out in the Milky Way when compared to the raven. I found combining the details of the doves in the narrative helped, which we will see in the next chapter. A simple dove-like color observation can be made by using the sunset horizon as a transversal line which intersects the Milky Way. The narrative has left us enough clues to decipher a bit more of this calendar's logic. The letter Wav in Hebrew grammar can be a letter prefixed to the start of a word as a conjunction, which joins one thought to the next. Wav prefix is translated as and or but. The first 15 verses of chapter 8 all begin with the letter Wav. The tedious task of trying to map out stars on the ecliptic had a small eureka moment when I noticed that the Wav constellation is one of the regions that contains stars in side-by-side pairs. The side-by-side pairs of stars seem fitting for a conjunction constellation, Wav, used to join two thoughts. Casting our gaze from the ecliptic across to the dove-like Wav region of the Milky Way reveals another conjunction-like attribute. In this narrative, the blue band of stars represent fountains, rains, and a flood of water. The red band of stars seems to represent the land that sunk below the western horizon and later reappeared on the eastern horizon. This Wav region of the Milky Way has the apparent motion of an offset pivot point, a celestial conjunction mark joining the blue and red bands. This white Wav region of the Milky Way from Earth is at an apparent transition between the blue and red bands. With the passing of time, these two blue and red arms perform a beautiful dance, a galactic equatorial axial pivot motion over the South Pole, spinning around this Wav region. This bright white region is now about to be used to track the pivotal period of summer solstice. To be clear, in modern terms, the red portion is composed of many stars clustered around what is called the galactic center. And the blue portion is us looking out at the spiral arms in which our own solar system resides. The next attribute of the dove recorded in the narrative reads, "But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot." It seems this also is a clue describing properties of the white nebula. Do you recall the color of dove's feet? Now, can you see this same color within the white nebula? The narrative continues, "And she returned to him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put out his hand and took her, and pulled her into him into the ark." This hand, or Yod nebula region, seemed easier to pick out. Hand in Hebrew is Yod. This is also the traditional meaning of the name of the letter Yod. In the Milky Way, to the left of the bright white Wav region, can be seen a large dark nebula that resembles an outstretched hand. Even more so interesting is the smaller dark nebula at the tip of the hand, resembling the Paleo Hebrew letter Yod. Similar to how the letter Alef nebula shape was seen in the mouth region of the Ox nebula. There is much more to observe with Yod, which we will have to investigate at another time.